So HIV, here it says, started when hunters in Western Africa killed and ate infected chimpanzees. So I'm saying, if you believe this is how HIV started, then what does that say about the sexual nature of the hunters? If they're where this all started, because they ate infected chimpanzees. How does it then immediately jump to targeting the gay community initially? Not anymore, but initially. And he's saying here, 14,000 people every day are still getting infected with HIV, even though nobody talks about this. You know, you talk about cancer, obesity, diabetes all the time. They never add in AIDS or HIV. Today, there's close to 1 million people in the United States with HIV. They're saying 1 in 6 don't know they have it. And as far as new infections, 1 in 4 is coming from youth age 13 to 24, is 1 in 4. So, you know, I questioned, like, could I show this to Boy Scouts or people in schools, you know, children, but, you know, if nobody's speaking up about this, they're the fastest growing segment of this disease, 13 years old. And they don't have any idea that, you know, they've been infected. In our country, it's not just male to male, as most people assume. It's actually, compared to Europe, we're a lot of heterosexual transmission, male to female. And it used to be, you know, 53% were male to male. This is today, about 31% are actually coming from heterosexual. And it's not just gay men, it's women, it's, you know, whoever. So factory farming, the next topic, has got to go. If you've never seen a video on factory farming, you should watch one. Nobody's willing to watch one though. It's so horrific. It's like the movie Chainsaw Massacre. Did anyone see that movie?
Food Inc. is a good overall what you're talking about. Food Inc.
But did anyone see Chainsaw Massacre? No. Okay, for whatever reason I wanted to scare myself. I saw it a few years ago on Halloween. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But you know what I noticed? That whole
Well,
movie,
then you would like factory farming.
I would watch it, but I would, it's animals and stuff.
that whole movie though was filmed in a butcher factory. You know, with the hooks that they put, you know, they were putting the humans on, doing the same thing to the humans that they do to animals all the time. But anyway, I'm saying raise it yourself, or get into a co-op, or don't eat meat anymore. It's that simple, because enough is enough. This is the most tragic thing occurring in our country today. And not to get off subject, but even wild caught fish is not really an option if you're going to go from meat to fish, because that's loaded with mercury. We had someone in my last talk who is a commercial fisherman. Her family's been fishing for decades. She said as far back as 15 years ago, all the fish they've been catching is full of cancer, which I was surprised to hear. I mean, today I'm not surprised, but today all wild fish is loaded with mercury. But it is better to me than eating these factory-raised farm animals, because even though they say fish feel pain, I think what the animals are going through is just the most horrific thing. And farm-raised fish is actually not a better option than trying to avoid the mercury in the wild-caught fish, because they're feeding the farm-raised fish concentrated pellets of the wild-caught fish, which means they're getting even more mercury, which means you're eating even more mercury. Plus, they feed the fish GMO corn, of all things. And this is in a special issue of Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm Beach, who does all this stuff to cure cancer naturally. I don't know how they get away with it. They must call it something else. But volume 32, issue 3, if you're interested, it's all about fish. And Brian Clement, the director there, he says, there is so much propaganda and misinformation surrounding seafood consumption that most people fail to see that they have been mentally hijacked or brainwashed into thinking that he's calling this a non-food, that is good for you. Time and time again, we have explained the hazards of eating this category of food, yet the average person does not comprehend how dangerous it is. Your body can not only maintain but flourish on a proper plant-based diet. Everything, including omega oils, can be gained by consuming algae, seeds, and their related sprouts and plant foods. So if you're eating fish oil for your omegas, I mean, you're getting that concentrated mercury in that fish oil. So even shark oil, people were using that for a while. Coming from shark liver oil, coming from the liver of the shark, where the toxins all are, where they're, that's where the organ that breaks toxins down. Don't eat anything that, like the animal's liver or their oil. Fishes, everybody they tested and a study done had high levels of mercury when they took their hair follicles. Everybody, 100%. It's not just from the fish though. For years and years and years, we had mercury fillings, and I hope you take yours out. But you got to do it slowly, because when you take them out, that releases all the mercury back into your bloodstream. But that goes right into your brain, which is related to Alzheimer's. And mercury is also in the basis of vaccines. So mercury, we have all these heavy metals. It's a big problem on our planet. Okay, Brian Clement again says, there is no debate that the most health-promoting, environment-conscious way to live is through the consumption of a well-balanced vegan diet. Anyone who would deny this needs deep self-evaluation so they can ask themselves the hard question of why they feel the need to destroy and control life for their own misguided pleasure. And I know that most people ordering a steak at, Outback or something, you're not even thinking of any of this. So this is to bring awareness so that now you will consider it and think twice. We petition you to become part of the human race and abandon the so-called norms that have created what is now called a catastrophic lifestyle that has all the earmarks to end life as we know it. This is a major message I'm giving you today. So what's wrong with factory farming? It is one of the biggest contributors to the most serious environmental problems. The meat industry causes more greenhouse gas emissions than all the cars, trucks, planes, and ships in the world combined. That is combined. So riding your bike isn't as important as eating a plant. If you want to help what is a worldwide huge problem. So here's a little chart showing the difference in greenhouse gas emissions presented in car kilometers per year. If you were a vegan eating organically, that's the light green color, you would be using 281 car kilometers of greenhouse gas, or emitting. Versus conventional farming, it would be 629. Vegetarianism puts out still a lot of greenhouse gas, whether it's organic or conventional. And everyone who says they're eating organic meat, you're still, look how much of a problem this is with the greenhouse gases. This is the biggest problem on our planet today, factory farming. Because of the methane that the cows, they're trying to find ways to harvest that methane and use it as a fuel, but all the deforestation is being caused by the factory farming. 80% of all the antibiotics in the United States are used on factory farms that we're eating, and it gets more concentrated when you eat it than what was in the animal as it goes up the food chain. So if you're eating meat that's not organic, you are constantly on antibiotics. And then since the 1990s, about 80 to 90% of the Amazonian deforestation has been due to clearing land just to graze cattle or grow the feed to feed the cattle. 80 to 90% of the reason they're cutting the trees down is because people want to eat meat, which we don't need. We don't need it. And not only that, but it takes 5,000 gallons of water to raise 1 pound of beef versus just 5 gallons of water to raise 1 pound of plant-based protein. That's a huge deal. We're in a water shortage. 5,000 gallons for 1 pound. How many times you go to the store and buy 1 pound of meat? Every time you buy 1 pound of meat, just think that took 5,000 gallons of water to create. 87% of the fresh water used in the United States is for agriculture, primarily irrigation, and worldwide it accounts for 93% of water depletion, with most of it being used for animal feed, to grow the plant just to feed the animal that you're going to eat, when you could have just ate the plant. The single factor most responsible for all of these aspects of unsustainability is our choice of food, specifically the consumption of animals and animal products and the inefficient use of resources to produce them. As I said before, tipping points have already been reached and windows of averting irreversible damage are beginning to close. Therefore, the time to change to a fully plant-based diet is now, today, not down the road when it is too late. This is our moment and place in the big history. Meatless Mondays, which they're trying to do to encourage people give it up one day a week. This is a quote from somebody. He says, initiatives that encourage us to take baby steps like one day a week to eat less meat merely delude people into imagining that making better food choices on occasion can make any relevant difference. We are at the point now where it just has to completely stop, is what they're saying. You can't just give it up for one day. You have to just stop it immediately. Instead of destroying our planet and ourselves, we can be remembered as the generation that saved planet Earth. This is why this is our time. Decide, are you going to ruin it or save it? As individuals, it is imperative that we begin making food choice decisions with a broader view of our place in humanity, not just for what we want to eat, but thinking of all these other things. And they're saying, if you feel unable or unwilling to make this change for your own health, then would you consider doing it for those around you, for family, friends, other living beings with whom we share the planet, future generations? And that's an author, Dr. Richard Oppenlander, who wrote a book called Comfortably Unaware. And that's what we are. We are comfortably unaware. We are so comfortable. We can buy anything we want. We can eat anything we want. We can just relax, watch TV, and think nothing of it. This comes from Hippocrates Health Institute, Volume 34, Issue 2. There's a movie out now called Cowspiracy, which I would encourage everyone to get on Netflix. And this quote from Howard Lyman, who was a former cattle rancher, says, "Do you realize that 75% of Americans consider themselves to be environmentalists? You don't think we could solve this problem in a heartbeat? All we would need is for the environmentalists to live what they profess, and we'd be on a course in the new world, a new course in the world." Because people, they just keep focusing on light bulbs and gasoline-powered cars, and nobody is talking about the food. And that, because the meat industry is powerful, the dairy industry is powerful.
My partner always says to me, we are the only species that drinks milk from another species.
Yeah, humans are the only
How
ones.
is that normal? That's very strange to me.
$34.7 million in dollars now are caused by factory farming. It's expensive, not only destructive. U.S. livestock produces 900 million tons, and a ton is 2,000 pounds of waste
1,000 kilograms. Right, or 1,000 kilograms.
every year.
1,000 kilograms, not pounds.
So, which is equal to 3 tons of manure for each American. That's how much waste U.S. livestock, which is equal to 7 million pounds of waste every minute. 7 million pounds of waste. I mean, every minute. Where is this all going to go? We don't have anywhere to put it. That's why it's going into the water. There's nowhere to put it.
I want to say something. Because this is overwhelming, of course. And I'm not unaware anyway. But to me, it seems like too many people. There was a group many years ago called Zero Population. This has been known for a long time. You cannot. Cup it gets filled. You can't just keep pouring and pouring water, then it becomes overfilled. We've surpassed that a long time ago. The bottom line here is overpopulation as it relates to all of this stuff. You can change your farming, you can do this, you can do that. Way too many people, and they're all concentrated along coasts anyway. So that's the bottom line.
Yes, but let me continue, because I can
I'm
get into
sorry,
that.
but,
I can get into that. I'm glad you're making the connections. Yeah,
How
one
much longer is your
cow.
lecture, may I ask also, because I have so many commitments, and I don't want to
Oh,
be rude,
you have
but
to
I,
leave?
not right now, but I want to know how long is your
Oh.
lecture?
Hopefully just, 10 minutes more.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, a 1,000-pound beef cow, one cow produces manure at the rate of about 14 tons a year for one cow. And in Iowa, they have most of the hogs, I guess, produced there, create 50 million tons of waste, which equals 16 tons of manure for each of their 3 million residents. If you just said for the residents of Iowa.
A lot of shit.
Yes, so this is what the problem with factory farming is. They're standing in their own feces, they're overcrowded, not just the people, the animals are packed in tight. They've got nowhere to put all this crap. They have to keep them on constant antibiotics, they have to. That creates this antibiotic-resistant bacteria in their guts, which we then eat. And now we have all this antibiotic-resistant superbugs that are created from eating this meat, which, yes, is caused by too many people that they're trying to, but before, I don't know which president it was. Hoover, what's his name? Hoover? Coolidge? I know, something like that with the double O's. He once said back then, his goal was a chicken in every pot, right? Who was it?
Campaign slogan, yes.
Once a week, he was talking about a
Because it was
chicken in every
during the-
pot, once a week was the
Depression.
goal. Now people have chicken every single meal, every single day. We don't need to be eating like that. It's not just because there's too many people, it's because we're eating meat at every single meal.
So this is why too now all of a sudden they're getting all on the antibiotics. So we don't want to put people on antibiotics unless you absolutely need them. And it's not because they're prescribing too many antibiotics, because we're eating antibiotics too.
Yeah, you're constantly on antibiotics. So America's about 1/20th of the world's population, but we're eating 1/6 of the world's meat. Who else loves red meat? These are the biggest consumers of red meat, which is over 70 pounds per person per year. United States, Canada, South America, Australia. So,
Not to interrupt you one more time then really it's not the meat, you're stating how it's produced.
well, that other chart I showed you showed that even if it was organic, it was still a huge cause of greenhouse gas emissions. Remember that
So
chart?
you're even saying like, don't even have your own cow or what, that's not good.
Well, if you have your own cow,
It would have been good years ago.
that would
They
be
didn't
probably
have
okay.
it.
That's why I said raise it yourself.
Well, that's what I mean, so you're not saying meat's
But you're
bad
gonna have
for
to
you, you're
store that.
saying how it's produced,
Raise your own chicken.
right?
Well, how to produce, yes, factory.
So we can eat meat, it's not bad, it's just how,
Well, I'll answer those as we go along. So what if your meat actually had the labels that showed you how that cow was raised? In this case, it says, I've been forced to live outside for a year now. The conditions have caused a cancer in my eye. There is now a crater on the side of my head. I am the 95%. And here it says, people think eating meat just kills animals, but the truth is it's also killing you. Pink slime was on the news a lot a few years ago, and as a result, these are actual hamburgers with this pink slime process here, this is what it looks like. There's a video about this down here. If you Google this on YouTube, you'll see pink slime, which is made up of animal entrails, organs, fat, and muscle, processed with the use of poisonous ammonia, which they never tell you, it's not on any label, susceptible to E. coli and salmonella. The fact is, it's a fact that meat eaters have more health problems than people who don't eat meat. So why are you bothering to try to raise your own cow to eat the meat? It's a fact that meat eaters have more health problems.
only because I can't, I'm sorry, I just have to disagree with you. I'm not saying eat
All
meat
right, well, let me
every
continue.
single day of your life, but I have to disagree with you there.
Steak and hamburgers contain pink slime plus estrogen, which can feminize men who eat meat. And an estimated 70% of all processed red meat is chock full of this pink slime. Last year, McDonald's and Burger King got so much flack for this that they did commit that they would no longer use this ammonia-treated meat paste. And now what happened instead, USDA decided to
Give it to
use
the kids.
7 million pounds of it for
Get rid
school
of those
lunches.
children.
Which school lunches are the bottom of the barrel for food quality, worse than the military of standards. They're the bottom of the barrel.
Why is that?
That's because we love our children in this country so much.
How do you justify that?
After they're
It's
here,
all
we
processed.
treat them like-
So again, here's another label on a chicken. My legs were badly broken from trying to support my genetically modified upper body because they raise chickens to grow so fast with these growth hormones, you know, so they can produce. I am the 95%. What is the 95%? That means 95% of your factory-raised animals are subject to deplorable conditions such as overcrowding, hunger, thirst, mutations, and oftentimes fatal weather, which is almost all of them. And again, this is a pig. I live in a shithole, and I mean that more literally than you may think. If that was on there, would you buy that? If they have, you know. Here's chicken nugget meat. Here's a cat. I just found out what hot dogs are really made of. Here's hot dogs down here at the bottom. So what's in your hot dog? This is actually what was found in hot dogs. Some hot dogs. Chemicals, bugs, bone, pig snouts, metal, rodent parts, pig anuses, and plastic have all been found in hot dogs. And this one over here says carcasses from old or thin cattle and swine, cheeks, jowls, hearts, tongues, lips, eyelids, gums, intestines, ears, nostrils, tails, snouts, tendons, windpipe, liver, kidney, salt, fat, bone, blood, preservatives. Enjoy. So in other words, all the other parts. They're not just going to throw them away. They make them into this mixture, and there's your hot dog.
The cheaper the better, right?
Yep, the cheaper the better. So here's factory farming. This is what to make your milk that you want to drink. The cows are given these growth hormones and are forced to become pregnant on a constant basis to keep producing that milk. Ducks, you know, like geese, like this is what the overcrowding of human population. This is what we have to do to our animals now. Like they're all just in these crates. And chickens, this is cage-free chickens. If you think you're getting something good, this is cage-free chickens. They're not any better off. They're still overcrowded. They're still sitting in their own ammonia and breathing that in all the time. So what's in a glass of milk? This is what they found. Each glass of milk has 135 million pus cells, growth hormones, acidic protein, which leaches calcium from bones. It doesn't give you calcium, it leaches calcium. The countries that drink the most milk have the most highest rates of osteoporosis. And this is, if you like liver pate, how they make liver pate is they have these geese which are force-fed by, this guy's holding his throat, he has this funnel, forcing it into his mouth, whether he wants to eat it, of course he doesn't, until they're just bloated, it blows up their liver, swells up their liver, and then that becomes this liver pate that people like to eat. And ducks are, of course, die from suffocation because they don't give them any chance to breathe even. John Robbins wrote all these books, and he says animals do not give their life to us as the sugar-coated lie would have it. No, we take their lives. They struggle and fight to their last breath just as we would do if we were in their place. Factory farmed animals do not see daylight or soil a day in their life. They live opposite how nature intended. They feel so much pain, fear, and terror, and people eat that. When cats play with mice, it's because they're trying to get the adrenaline out of their body before they eat it, because adrenaline is poisonous, which comes from fear. But we're just eating that adrenaline when you eat the animals, and they are scared out of their minds. And if you see those videos, you'll hear them screaming. In order to keep animals alive in these horrendous sick conditions, they are pumped full of antibiotics, which people then eat, causing them to be resistant, and that's superbugs we have today, not in some future world. So no one wants to think there's something wrong with the way they are eating, but I have to ask you, where do you think all that food is coming from that is feeding everyone unlimitedly? You don't see it on the side of the road, everybody eating all this meat every meal. You don't see herds of cattle, and pigs, and chickens. When when you're driving around that could support something like this, it's hidden. It's forbidden to film this. It's only these films that are created are undercover cameras that they snuck in that an employee happened to take. He just couldn't stand like what was being done, and they're undercover. They don't have any windows. No one can peek in on. It's it's a horror show. But we take it for granted, and we don't even think twice or even once about where is all this food coming from. We don't even think about it, right? We don't think about it. Nothing will
We're not
benefit.
encouraged to think about it.
What?
We're not encouraged to think about it.
No, we feel those
You're
delicious
opening the
commercials on
eyes.
TV.
You're opening the eyes to the Boy Scouts. People aren't taught this.
I know.
In this culture, we're not taught what you're talking about.
And I mean, I'm glad you guys all came today, even, whatever differing views we have, because most people, like, these gym members, no one's, this is a hard talk to get an audience for.
I give you a lot of props actually for doing it, because they can't get,
Well, I'm looking forward to being done giving this talk. Every time I review it, and I'm like, okay.
who's gonna yell at me now?
Well,
I know all this, I've heard of all this.
So
I'm just saying.
Albert Einstein says nothing will benefit human health and increase chances for survival on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. Studies show people who are vegan live an average of 15 extra years over the animal eating population. That's significant, 15 years. If you are not vegetarian yet, or even better, vegan, which means you don't eat anything with eyes or fish or products from animals like eggs or milk or cheese, the question is, why not?
What do you eat instead?
Live fruit.
Before this, I was, once in a while eating fish and stuff like that. Now, we decided, okay, that's off the table, that's off. Well, in my book, if you choose to buy one, I do have 200 recipes in there as alternatives, because in my practice, I'm constantly getting people saying, well, then what do I eat? That is the number one question, which is why I made the book. But it not just has the recipes, it has more than this presentation even has. So continuing to eat animals after learning this is the single most important thing to stop doing, which becomes the behavior of a sociopath, which is someone who is walking around numb and continuing to make irresponsible choices. And I know sociopath is a strong word, but the definition is someone who is disconnected from the consequences of his behavior. One who lacks a sense of moral responsibility or social conscience. And this is where we are. There is no more time to ask nicely, and it's not even good for you. Here's a cartoon, stop eating so many vegetables. I can't seem to find anything wrong with you. Maybe that's why they want to promote it. Where would the medical world be? Here's a study, the China study, if you've ever read that book, all about this. And this chart here is showing in red the percentage of deaths from heart disease and cancer, compared to in green the percentage of calories from unrefined plant foods. So the countries like the United States here that had the least amount of plant foods had the highest amount of death from heart disease and cancer. Countries like Laos had the most consumption of plant foods and the least amount of heart disease and cancer. So it's a direct correlation. So what is the China study? It was the most comprehensive study of nutrition ever conducted. A monumental survey of diet and death rates from cancer in more than 2,400 Chinese counties. The claims that the science points in one direction only, that whole plant foods are health promoting while animal foods cause disease regardless of their quality, organic or not organic. It found that children who ate the highest protein diets were the ones most likely to get liver cancer. In fact, dietary protein proved to be so powerful in its effect that we could turn on and turn off cancer growth simply by changing the level of consuming, and it was consistent 100% of the time. We found that not all proteins have this effect. What protein consistently and strongly promoted the cancer? It was casein, which makes up 87% of the protein in cow's milk. Promoted all stages of cancer. What type of protein did not promote cancer, even at high levels of intake? Plant proteins, including including wheat and soy. People who ate the most animal-based foods got the most chronic disease. People who ate the most plant-based foods were the healthiest and tended to avoid chronic disease. The findings are consistent. The attitude we have towards our personal pets as opposed to the animals that suffer under the factory farm is hypocritical and delusional. But you can help one bite at a time. This is just showing a movie, Super Size Me, where they did a test eating McDonald's 3 meals a day. He tested his blood with the doctors before he started. And in the beginning, when he first started doing this, his body was throwing up constantly. He was rejecting that food. By the end of the month, he was addicted to it. He was craving it constantly, no longer throwing up. Junk food is engineered to addict you to chemical ingredients on purpose. When you go out to a restaurant, they want to make sure you're going to crave their food and you're going to come back. It's a business. It's money. What are you feeding your kids? Most kids are eating soda, potato chips, Twinkies, donuts, cakes, hamburgers, French fries. If you drink 1 can of soda a day, and it's 10 ounces, you would gain 13 pounds a year. The 44 ounces, you would gain 57 pounds a year. Just drinking that 1 soda a day. And soda, not only does it have all these terrible things, phosphoric acid, high sugar content, aspartame, that thing we talked about, caffeine, but it's also made with tap water, which contains chemicals like chlorine, lead, cadmium. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm choosing soda instead of the tap water that they serve at the restaurant. Well, your soda has that tap water. And caffeine has all these health benefits, not benefits, creates all these health problems. What we're in now as a country and a society is caffeine addiction. It's hip now. Kids are drinking Starbucks and they think, coffee, at 12.
I remember that. I wasn't allowed to drink coffee when
They do it now.
But
kids
you
are.
are drink a $5 Starbucks, that's for sure.
So this is a little cartoon showing like a
So I
person
don't know what kids are drinking.
when she wakes up, no cups of coffee, waking up grouchy, grumpy. 1 cup of coffee, she is pleasantly optimistic. 2 cups of coffee, she can conquer the world. And 3+ cups of coffee, I can smell colors.
Nice.
Caffeine tends to produce dependence. It can cause drug withdrawal reactions, worsen psychiatric illnesses, impair physical and mental performance, interferes with sleep. And this is a chart showing, this is a 16-ounce brewed coffee, a regular cup of coffee, how much caffeine is in it, compared to a 16-ounce latte and 1 ounce of espresso, 12-ounce can of Coke, 12-ounce Mountain Dew, apparently Sprite doesn't have any, 16-ounce Full Throttle, 8-ounce Red Bull, 8-ounce Rockstar. So here's where the most of it is, that 16-ounce cup of coffee.
Isn't it caffeine, between coffee? I thought they did this study.
Yeah, there's all kinds of
Drinking
studies
coffee,
trying to
yeah.
show how great it is to drink coffee.
No, like it has antioxidants.
Has what?
What do they call it? Antioxidants.
Oh, antioxidants.
Antioxidants.
That's what I'm saying. You can find plenty of stuff that says it's great for you. But here's what most people who drink coffee regularly look like in the morning when they first wake up and they don't have their cup of coffee.
Exactly.
And this is the guy, he's showing it again, she has her 1 cup of coffee here, suddenly she's happy again, 2 cups, she's great. But, everyone's always like, don't talk to me until I have my coffee. Isn't that what they say? This is the caffeine curve people who drink coffee every day experience. In the morning, they're a zombie-like state. When I don't drink coffee, when I wake up, that's when I'm rearing to go. Like, I go from 0 to 60 immediately. But if you are addicted to coffee, you're a zombie until you have that first cup. It's not until the 2nd or 3rd cup that you're starting to function like a normal person. And then they're saying by the 4th or 5th cup, that's the peak where people experience incredible awesomeness, feel like the master of the universe, outstanding work performance. This one says God sighted. By 3 or 4 o'clock, feelings of depression set in, mom's blanky, curled up in a fetal position by 5. This one says triple shotgun murder by 5 o'clock. Are you starting to wonder why everyone needs so much caffeine? Why are we that kind of a society? It's not just in coffee, it's in jelly beans, waffles, gum, water, syrup. And now they have these 5-hour energy shots, which have 552 milligrams per 8 ounces of caffeine. Compared to that cup of coffee, it's triple. Caffeine works the same parts of the brain as cocaine, amphetamines, and heroin. It just has milder effects. And the drug war myth is that marijuana is more addictive than caffeine, when in fact, on a 100-point scale, nicotine is a 99, alcohol is an 87, caffeine is a 70, and marijuana is a 22.
So actually marijuana is better than
So
you.
marijuana is at the end.
Yeah, it's low for terms of addiction, but I mean, I know people addicted to that too. Caffeine is an excitotoxin. An excitotoxin or neurotoxin literally stimulates the neurons of the brain to death, causing brain damage of varying degrees. Caffeine in a brain-injured individual can contribute to other symptoms or add symptoms such as sleep disruption and fatigue. It is also reported to deplete the body's natural production of adrenaline, which should be your normal boost in your body when you need extra energy. It should be your adrenaline. But instead, you're depending on the caffeine. That's why your body's no longer producing adrenaline. It's like, well, you don't need me anymore. It's now dependent on that chemical. Excitotoxicity may be involved in stroke, traumatic brain injury, and neurodegenerative diseases of the central nervous system, such as multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, ALS, otherwise known as the Ice Bucket Challenge, fibromyalgia, Parkinson's, and Huntington's disease. And it also inhibits glucose utilization in the brain, which is one of the brain's major healing tools. Do you know what else has excitotoxins which cause neurological damage? Aspartame. That's what aspartame does. And not only that, it makes you, people drinking these diet sodas, it actually makes you gain weight. It dries up the lubricating synovial fluid in the joints and turns them into plastic, which is what's creating fibromyalgia. It also causes diabetes, Parkinson's, memory loss, MS, multiple sclerosis, ADHD, and Alzheimer's. 2/3 of the population today regularly consume aspartame, and it interacts with just about every drug used to treat the symptoms that it creates and triggers the diseases. Michael J. Fox was a former Diet Pepsi spokesman, and informants say he is addicted to it.
Still?
Pesticides are also neurotoxins designed to cause ADHD. They're called organophosphates, and they account for as much as 70% of the pesticides used in the U.S. today. They work by interfering with the nervous system of insects, but have a similar effect in mammals and humans. Children are at greater risk from eating pesticides because their nervous systems are still developing. Kids with high levels of this pesticide in their blood were 93% more likely to have ADHD than children with undetectable levels. Do you still think organic vegetables are too expensive? And this is what we're talking about. Look, she's feeding her baby Starbucks. They're all drinking Starbucks. She's drinking a Monster Jolt. They have this drink now called liquid cocaine, which compared to that regular cup of coffee is even way more than that in terms of caffeine. Reverend Dr. George Malpass, who is the author of God's Way to Ultimate Health, I saw him in person, says caffeine is such a noxious, toxic poison that when you put it in your body, it does everything it can to attack it and get it out, and that is what is causing that stimulation to that extent. He says the soda industry will not be satisfied until everyone stops drinking water, and that is what they're doing. They're trying to encourage a Coke for breakfast in the morning instead of your coffee. He says it's the most incredible thing that we think we can put in whatever garbage we want into our bodies and still keep functioning perfectly. Every system in your body runs on water, not soda, not energy drinks, or any other liquid. and it depletes as we get older. Babies 100%, as we get older, as adults 70%, and then 50%. And water does all kinds of awesome things. I'm not going to read them all. You can even eat your water if you eat a lot of raw produce that has water in it, instead of cooking everything. So not everyone is trying to destroy the planet. Have you heard of the millennials? That is the generation known as the fixers, or Generation Fix, which is about the 18 to 34-year-olds today. They're the fastest growing population segment of food gardeners today because they are the most aware of what is happening with the food supply. And here's what some of them are saying. Like, we are seeing how processed food is becoming, all the allergies, food scares, and sickness running rampant, plus the cost of food is ridiculous. And at this point in our lives, we are having children, we're trying to teach them that our world isn't all instant gratification or a disposable unit. She says, Amanda, I'm afraid of what my children are eating, and more afraid that very soon I'm going to walk into the grocery store and not be able to afford food at all, like you're saying. It is people waking up and realizing it's cheaper, healthier, and more environmentally friendly to grow your own food. And this other guy, he says it's more to do with a generation of people, the millennials, who are interested in reconnecting with their food sources. The coming decades will see a major pushback from consumers who are literally sick and tired of eating over-processed, prepackaged garbage and or tired of overpaying for certified organic, which a lot of places won't do anymore because it is just so time-consuming and expensive and discourages them. Also, we don't want to support unsustainable farming methods. The millennials are the first generation who say they would rather take a job with lower pay if it is going to be a job that helps to make a difference in the world instead of working at a high-paying job that they are not happy at. The Hopi prophecy, when the earth is ravaged and the animals are dying, where we're at right now, a new tribe of people shall come unto the earth from many colors, creeds, and classes, and who by their actions and deeds shall make the earth green again. They shall be known as the warriors of the rainbow. So if you are not as informed as you could be on what is happening to the food supply and how to properly feed the body you have, I invite you to consider making an investment in your health and awareness and benefit from over 20 plus years of traveling and research I have done for you by purchasing a copy of my latest book, Closer to the Sun, a recipe book for health for the next evolutionary phase of mankind, which we are in. This book is like the instruction manual for the human body living on planet Earth and trying to survive the extinction that is occurring, not that is about to occur, but that is occurring. The planet is changing faster than it ever has before, and if you don't learn how to navigate the dangers in the food supply and learn how your food choices directly impact the future of our planet, you may not survive what is sure to come next. More and more people have become weakened within their immune system and environmentally sensitive, allergic to almost every kind of food. But it is not just the food causing cancer. Harmful electromagnetic frequencies are bombarding us also every day, all around us, and interfering with our body's immune systems, such as cell phones, Wi-Fi, smart meters. Somehow, even smartphones have become addicting to people. And I just added this today because I wanted to just say that when President Obama first ran for office, there was no such thing as a smartphone. That is how recent they are. Now the average person, regardless of age, sends or receives about 400 texts every month. And the average teen processes 3,700 texts a month.
That is so true. I have
The director of Semel Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior at UCLA argues that the computer is like electronic cocaine. And it does change the gray matter in the brain. They have found that it stimulates the same areas of the brain as cocaine. Fueling cycles of mania followed by depressive stretches. It encourages and even promotes insanity. Some people have actually committed suicide from this. When the new Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, called the DSM, of mental disorders comes out this year, there will be a new category added called Internet Addiction Disorder in the medical book. Some doctors have even been using electroshock therapy to treat internet-addicted teens. A 200-person Stanford study of iPhone habits found that 1 in 10 users feel they are 100% fully addicted. This is from Newsweek from July 2012 issue. So what do we do? How do we protect ourselves? How do we build up our immune systems to compete with all these attacks? How do we reverse the damage we ourselves have created, mostly in just the past 30 years? How do we survive the 6th great mass extinction ourselves? The answer is we stop just coasting along and doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. We become informed about our choices. We start deciding to choose foods that are grown and raised sustainably for the planet. That's the key. We take back our power and stop blaming it on everyone else. We let others know they have choices too, and conscious versus unconscious eating decisions to make. But first, it starts with yourself and your own health. And the health of the future human race starts with today's children and whether or not they will grow into healthy adults. Dr. Jonathan Reed in 2011 said, we need to evolve. This is an act of evolution. If we don't evolve, we don't continue. If we don't continue, we will cease to exist as part of this connectivity. And William Cooper said, like it or not, everything is changing. The result will be the most wonderful experience in the history of man or the most horrible enslavement that you can imagine. Be active or abdicate. The future is in your hands. Eckhart Tolle, the author of A New Earth, wrote, a significant portion of the Earth's population will soon recognize, if they haven't already done so, that humanity is now faced with a stark choice, evolve or die. And I'm saying, in other words, eat sustainably or the food itself is purposely being engineered to kill you and make the population who is not eating sustainably sterile. Native Americans lived with the awareness of how their actions would affect the next 7 generations. We can't even get people to focus past their next meal. Our denial is all-consuming. Our resistance is strong. We outright refuse to change or to care. And the question is, why not? What is wrong with us? And to be honest, I don't even expect 80% of Americans to change. I don't think it's possible. And I'm giving this message anyway, not for my sake, but for yours. I'm just saying here that 2 parallel lines will stay traveling the same direction, but even one slight little change in the long run makes a big wide gap if those 2 lines keep going, even if you make just one small change now, anything. The Hopi elders gave a speech in 2011. They said, you've been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. Where are you living? Where is your garden? And do not look outside yourself for the leader. There is a river now flowing very fast, and it is flowing so fast that there are those that will feel threatened. They will want to hang on to the shore, but the river has its destination. Take nothing personally. The time that we do, our evolution comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. We are the ones we have been waiting for. And they gave another message after this, but this is one they're calling their last message ever. Given at the Geneva Convention, United Nations, they are done warning us now. They said in this last message, the great test is at hand. Who or what is controlling our food, whereby our relationship with the Creator can be determined? Why are laws created to make it illegal for humanity to grow the original food? What is keeping us from returning to the control of our own blood quality? A massive educational program is needed to restore the kitchen as the center of government. Today, most of humanity fear to lose the comfort that keeps us in this velvet prison. Do we realize that we are walking over dead bodies just by doing the regular shopping at the supermarket? Humanity is being systematically redesigned in the image of an inferior God. Creation of the artificial blood, womb, sperm, heart, and brain speaks for itself. Anti-creation can be easily identified by its means to destroy the world. Firstly, by changing the quality of our blood by way of food. Consumerism is coming to its end, and so is the grand experiment. It will be nature who will do the enforcement of Creator's one law. Anti-creation welcomes this solution because its nature is to have a backwards evolution towards the Big Bang. Therefore, it emphasizes the most primitive forms of life, such as the seedless food, virus, chemicals, microwaves, chemistry over alchemy, survival over fulfillment, competition over union, consumerism over creation, and any form of reaction, which robotization is also on the agenda. What we need now is the return of the alchemist, foremost woman in her kitchen. This is what they just said in 2011 at the United Nations speeches. Basically, it's all about the food. So I think the only ones who will survive this are the ones who are living sustainably for the good of the earth and who are eating exactly and only for the good of their bodies, which are mere extensions of the same material the earth is made of. This wouldn't be the first time humans were destroyed for being destructive. History has shown that. This isn't happening just because someone is trying to make a profit. So let's recap. If you were trying to kill the destructive human overpopulation, what would you do? Contaminate the food supply, make plants and trees sterile, genetically alter the DNA of plants to cause cancer and sterilize humans, reduce sperm count in men and reduce ways to procreate, genetically modify corn and then use that ingredient in 75% of the processed food and feed it to all the animals and fish. Poison the fish with mercury. Take away the pollinators and natural pest controllers that have lived for millions of years. Weaken and attack the immune system through sexual transmission, so even the act of procreating carries the virus. Make the virus mutate indefinitely so no medicine can ever cure it and people are forced to use condoms. Treat cancer with poisonous mustard gas and radiation so that the treatment is worse than the disease. Put chemicals in the water supply to alter sexuality. Have I gotten your attention yet? This isn't just about the money. So, questions or comments, anyone? I'm here to help. Remember that. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Okay, so now I have this healthy, delicious salad for those of you who can stay, and I invite you to be part of the solution. So does anyone have any comments before we break for the salad?
Very low.
Wait, yeah, we're not gonna talk about it.
Minuscule. I don't think it's gonna change.
So that's what I'm saying.
But thank you so much for your
Yeah, your
kindness and
contribution
your effort
is
in
very
trying to
important.
educate people.
Yeah,
And people like
definitely.
you, that's to.
And we could try to pay it forward, you know, the people that.
Well, I'm gonna put this on the internet, you know, because, I mean, I will give it if someone has a place they want to keep repeating this message to others, you know, but a lot of people who know people who are really eating just like this says, they won't come to something like this, you know, they don't want to hear it, they don't want to see
I
it.
don't know, I think a lot of, again, in my opinion, I think a lot of people, and I'm gonna ask you ladies too, unless it's the people I'm hanging with, are looking towards to change their, and we don't use the word diet, right? Maybe
Lifestyle.
the lifestyle and looking to change how they eat. I can see
Well,
it.
it's because of where we work. I work at a wellness place now. So, I mean, but
There are a lot, there are
it
quite a
does
few
kind
people
of seem
trying to
like
get
there may
that
be
out.
a slight chance
Chance.
of hope.
Yeah.
Well, as far as like all those things increasing, like Alzheimer's, obesity, cancer, diabetes,
Well, like you said.
they don't understand the connection of what's causing
Yeah,
that.
Right,
Nothing's
And I'm saying, if you didn't really get this, that it's happening on purpose.
And the people, a lot
Well,
of people.
That's important, and
Well,
so who-
Monsanto for sure.
Well, of course, they're a terrorist organization, they need to be taken out, but what do you think is actually going to cause that?
Well, I think that actually there are a lot of prophecies, including the Book of Revelation, that do say a third of the humans are going to be wiped out.
Have you heard the Georgia Guidestones?
What?
Do you know what they say?
Who's that?
The Georgia Guidestones. I just learned about this very recently. That it's like 10 commandments. It's 10 new commandments. It's up near South Carolina. Most Americans aren't even aware of it. It's been there since 1980. Like just when all
I
of
think
this
I did hear
started
about that,
happening.
but I've
The
felt
number
more.
one commandment is 90% of the population is going to be wiped out. So somebody put that up there to tell us. and it's all about sustainability. This has been predicted.
This has happened before. We are in the 6th great mass extinction. It is happening.
It is.
The Earth does have a means of survival for itself. And what's going to kill the top of the food chain? Microorganisms, the superbugs, and cancer. I mean, we don't have to be killed by war, which is another means of population control. Just by continuing to eat those foods, the food itself will do that job.
But also, most people do not have awareness in the United States of what is the medical community doing to assist us. They're killing us.
Oh,
Yeah,
The doctors and the hospitals
totally are.
and the surgeries and the.
So
Yeah,
you're
that
saying
was-
it's a
They
conscious
definitely
decision
exist for
by
cancer. They have
who?
things
That's what I'm
that
trying to
are
figure
The
out.
pharmaceutical
Conscious
companies want to
decision
kill
by
us.
governments,
No doubt
by
about it.
who?
That was a whole nother part I wasn't going to get into today. But here's another thing, I'll just leave you with this one slide. It's the beginning of my next talk. But I'm going to go and start making the salad. I know some of you, it's made, I just have to add the dressing. And I want you to smell this and taste this. So that you don't have to be wondering, you know, what else is there to eat.
Well, okay, so your slide says that basically when you fall out of sync, and we already all know that. So you're saying it is the super wealthy that are trying to
Well, no,
destroy
this
the
slide
rest of
is
us?
part of a part 2 talk that started to come about, like you were saying, what the medical industry is doing. Because part of what I was coming to the conclusion, it's not necessarily a fast death. All these things creating death are slow deaths. And what they're doing is extending the time that you're sick, creating sickness. If we were all well and eating well, that business would be gone. There would be no medical, you know, what's the fastest growing jobs? They always say nurses. They need health care. I mean, it's not funeral homes.
But it is a
Funeral
conscious
homes.
decision by corporate America, by
Well, you know what, there's a
corporations,
movie called The Other Guys, and
Like what?
Will Ferrell is in it. It's a comedy. And I just watched it a couple years ago, but it was at the end when they were rolling the credits. For some reason, all this Ponzi scheme stuff came up at the end with the credits, and they started to show, like in 1911, they showed it year by year, and it was running with the credits, and we had to enlarge it because it was tiny. I was like, what is that? And like we kept going back and freezing it and enlarging it. It showed in 1911 that the CEOs back then were paid the same exact amount as the workers that worked for them. But year by year, it crept up and crept up. And just on the news the other day, I saw that, you know, now it's like, I don't know what they said, but this was the closest I could find. The ratio was 354 times what the workers are earning. So that's a whole nother story. Don't get distracted
well,
with
that's
that.
the cardinal sin.
But
Greed.
well, I'm saying it's not just about the money now. This is a population, this is an earth problem. We do have limited resources. But the slow death is profitable.
Oh, okay, so we want to take them out, but slowly, so we can get every penny out of those sheeple.
Thanks for
Yeah. Yeah. That's dark.
Okay, I'll see you around, okay?
Okay,
Thank you for
Darcy.
everything.
Wow.
Nice presentation.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you, and I didn't mean to rush you by my question, I just was trying to get a feel for where.
Did I
where we
answer
were.
your question?
You did, you said 10 to 15 minutes, and you said
I know, I
that
had another half hour.
yeah.